بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So we are resuming with the tafsir of Surah al-Insan, alhamdulillah. We reached the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala where He said, وَيُطَافُ عَلَيْهِمْ بِآنِيَةٍ مِّن فِضَّةٍ وَأَكْوَابٍ كَانَتْ قوارير من فضة قدروها تقديرا ويسقون فيها كأسا كان مزاجها زنجبيلا عينا فيها تسمى سلسبيلا ويطوف عليهم ولدان مخلدون إذا رأيتهم حسبتهم لؤلؤا منثورا وإذا رأيت ثم رأيت نعيما وملكا كبيرا عاليهم ثياب سندس خضر واستبرق وحلوا أساور من فضة وسقاهم ربهم شرابا طهورا إن هذا كان لكم جزاء وكان سعيكم مشكورا. Allah Ta'ala said in what translates, there will be vessels that will be brought amongst them, around them. They will be served with these things from fidda, from silver, and cups of qawarir. This will be explained. Qawir, like crystal. قوارير من فضة قدروها تقديرا. Vessels, crystal clear, made of silver, that they will estimate or measure how much they wish. They will also be given to drink from a kes, a cup of wine or a vessel of wine whose mixture is of zanjabil, ginger, coming from a fountain or a spring whose name is salsabil. And there will be youthful boys who will go about them, serving them, everlasting youths. When you see them, you would think them to be like scattered pearls. And when you look there, you will see a great delight and a huge dominion. They will have clothing that is of fine green silk or gold embroidery, and they will be adorned. They will be adorned with bracelets made of silver, and their Lord is going to give them a pure drink. Indeed, this is a recompense for you. Your efforts and your actions are mashkura. They are appreciated and accepted. This is the portion, inshallah, that we're going to take tonight. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for tawfiq, and He bless us with what we hear. The Shaykh, he mentions that the context, it continues from before, mentioning the condition of the people of Jannah, the situation, the circumstances of the people of paradise, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prepared for them, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prepared for them of honor. And that is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in this chapter different types of noble things that the people of Jannah are going to have. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised them of various different types of delight. And from that is what is found in these verses, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يُطَافُ عَلَيْهِمْ أَيْ يَطُوفَ عَلَيْهِمَ الْخَدَمْ بِالشَّرَابِ. There will be servants that will go around them, serving them, and bringing them beverages, things to drink, whatever else that they like and wish for. بِآنِيَةٍ مِّن فِضَّةٍ وَأَكْوَابٍ. And they will come and serve them with aniya, which is jam'a ina. It is plural for ina, which is a vessel. A vessel in ina. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned bi'aniya wa akwab. Aniya is plural for ina. Ina is a vessel. This could be something that you serve food with or drinks. And akwab, or cups, which is obviously clear, this is something that drinks are served with or somebody drinks from. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that they will both be made out of silver. So the vessels and the things found in Jannah, as comes in a narration, it's made of what? Who knows? Silver and gold. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that it's qawarira min fidda, that these vessels are of fidda. But this qawarir, these crystal-like vessels, they are clear and transparent in their color and also in their beauty and their shape. They're like vessels that are crystal or glass, but they're made out of silver. And we don't have something like that in this dunya, I don't think. Have you seen anything like that? You can't see through silver, for instance. It's not transparent, but these vessels are different. These type of vessels will be made of silver, and also others made of gold. And وَهِيَ مَخْلُوقَ لِلْبَقَاءِ وَالدَّوَامِ. And they are created to be lasting and eternal. لا تتكسر كما في الدنيا. They won't shatter or break, just like you might find in this dunya. You know, I have lots of mugs and cups in my house that I have bought over the years, but I come to find out after children, you know, every few months they get less and less. You know, trying to figure out where that mug went, where'd that cup go? But later on we found out. These types of vessels, they won't break, they won't shatter. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about that, قَدَّرُوهَا تَقْدِيرًا. They are going to measure with a measurement, the people of Jannah, يعني على حسب حاجتهم, in an amount that exactly the amount that they want. Right? It's not going to be anything less or anything more. Whatever they like, however much they want, they will have. Or the servants themselves will measure the amount for them. فَهِيَ لَا تَزِيدْ عَنْ حَاجَتِهِمْ وَلَا تَنْقِصْ عَنْ حَاجَتِهِمْ. So it's not going to be any more than what they need and desire, nor any less than what they need and desire. They will have the amount exactly as they wish. لَا تَزِيدْ وَلَا تَنْقِصْ. Now I ask you before we move on, because some of the disbelievers, you must pay attention to this. Some of the disbelievers, non-Muslims, or some, maybe even some Muslims who are weak in Iman, they may look at these verses in these ayats and they think to themselves, well, like, what is so special about that? What is so special about drinks and eating? And I mean, should I strive so hard for this? Who could reply to that?
The food and the drink in general is not comparable to what you have here.
It's not comparable to what you, but what do, okay, let me ask you this question. What do people strive for here in this world? Let me ask you that. What is the highest degree of happiness that you find from amongst the people? Dunya-wise. How do they get comfortable?
Wealth.
Wealth, what do they do with their money? On what? What do they spend it on? Food and drink. And what else? Women. Okay? All the things that we enjoy in this dunya to the highest degree. زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنْ نِسَاءٍ وَبَنِينَ. Beautified for men are the things that they desire and covet from. What's the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions there? Min an-nisa. From women. In this world, people strive, actors, actresses, singers, musicians, people that get famous. What do they do with that money? What do they like to show? How do they like to put that money out? They like to get the best of clothes. We're going to talk about clothes. They like to get the best of food and drink. And for the men particularly, they want to have the best of women. And of course, women, they want to have the best of men. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is not going to go away, but it's different in the hereafter. Why? It's going to be pure and wholesome and perfect, as some of that will be explained here. So you have to think about that. When you read these verses, you know that you're chasing after that right now. Living in this dunya, you're chasing after the best of drinks, the best of clothes, the best of places to live in, the best of things to ride in, and something of the beauty from the women, along with her piety, obviously, for the Muslim. There's nothing more that we chase after in terms of things of the dunya. Much of the time, men, they want money so they can have women. You will not find it far off that men will work extra hard just to get another wife. They want money for women. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discusses these things, these are the things that we desire in this world. Okay, but it's much, much greater. Much, much greater. Bearing that in mind, now let's continue and think and ponder and reflect over the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning here. Do you, as a person who is rich and powerful, do you like to do all the work yourself, or do you like to be served? He likes for people to serve them. طيب. So now let's go back to this Surah al-Insan. And let's pay attention to these descriptions. First, we talked about young, handsome boys that will go around serving the people. You'll be served. This is an honor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the believers. They worked hard. They worked hard. Now, this is a time of relaxation and rest. And they will be giving them and serving them drinks in the best types of vessels. The disbelievers, they pride on their vessels, their cups, and their silverware. and their china. They pride on it, right? You will see some of them, showing people their mansions and their houses, their dining rooms and the dining set and the beautiful cups and silverware and the stuff that they just store it in, right? These are the luxuries of this dunya. So you must know that this is something that's going to be amazing. Allah Ta'ala says, وَيُسْقَوْنَ فِيهَا كَأْسًا. They will be given to drink a kas. A kas is a cup. But here it's speaking particularly of khamr, a cup of wine. This is one of the biggest sellers in the disbelieving nations and countries, because khamr is haram, it's forbidden for us now. But it's one of the biggest sellers. You have stores all over the place. They raise up the prices for alcoholic drinks more than any other drinks. The cost of them, even though they destroy your body and they poison the body, but they're the most expensive types of drinks. Alcoholic drinks. As for paradise, the people of Jannah, they will be given a kas. They will be given a cup, which is of wine. The servants will serve them these cups of wine. However, it's khamrun tayyib, masluba anhu sifat khamr ad-dunya. But it is going to be a wholesome wine that is free of the characteristics and qualities of the alcohol or the wine that is served in this dunya. Because in the dunya, alcohol, wine, that includes beer, all those types of intoxicating drinks, they're khabitha, muharrama, they're impure, they're filthy, they're also forbidden, and they're harmful. When people drink alcohol, they get hangovers, they get headaches, they throw up, they vomit, because they get over intoxicated. Now, for them, that type of drink for them, you have to limit yourself. Otherwise, he harms himself. But the believers in Jannah, they will have the drink according to what? As they like. As they like. Never harmful. As for the khamr of the hereafter, فَهِيَ طَيِّبَ وَلَذِيذَ وَصَحِيَّ لَيْسَ فِيهَا غَوْلٌ أي لا تؤثر على العقول كما في خمر الدنيا. It's wholesome wine of the hereafter. It's delicious and tasty and it's healthy. It doesn't have that intoxicating effect that takes away and ruins the person's mind as it does in this dunya. A person drinks, he keeps drinking and drinking, he loses his intelligence the more he drinks. It could destroy his life. Subhanallah. As a matter of fact, just last week, about a week and a half ago, a neighbor that I've seen for a long time, I will speak with this person only on occasions, since I moved to this neighborhood that I'm living in currently. I was outside with my children, and he came to me. We have a big field where I so I take the kids out into the field. He came outside and walked towards me. He had a couple of toys. He said, do you mind if I give these to your kids? I said, of course, you can, go ahead. So he said, he came out a little bit different. He approached me kind of like more serious than usual. He told me, he said, every time I see you, you remind me of my daughter. He said, my daughter was a Muslim. Was a Muslim. She was 26 years old. He said her and her husband was a Muslim. He converted her to Islam. He told me this. He said they got a flat tire and they moved to the side of the road to fix the tire. A drunk person was driving, hit them and killed both of them. May Allah have mercy upon the two of them. Right? That's what alcohol does in this dunya. It kills people. That's what the khamr of the dunya can do. Darra. It's harmful in many different ways. Now that person that killed them is probably locked up for the rest of their life or whatever. So it harms everybody. The khamr of the hereafter, on the other hand, completely different. لا تؤثر على العقول. A person can't even drive. You cannot compare. قال الله تعالى كان مزاجها زنجبيلا. Its mixture is going to be with ginger. Ginger is a plant. It has a good fragrance. لذيذ المذاق. It's a delicious taste and flavor. لكن ما في الدنيا يختلف عما في الآخرة. But what we know in this dunya obviously is different from what is in the hereafter. So there are a number of things. Some of the things, can we remind each other now, what are some of the things that are mentioned in the Quran that are in Jannah that we know them by name and by meaning? Milk, honey, lebanon.
Grapes.
Grapes.
Gold, silver.
Gold, silver.
Rivers.
Different kinds of things. You have roman, like we discussed before. Pomegranate. I think I said it right, didn't I? Okay. All of these things, even the spouses, right? They will have a different appearance. The haqiqah, things are known by name and meaning. So when we say grapes, we think of it, it comes to the mind, we know what a grape is, we know what it tastes like. So we imagine these things. Grapes are in Jannah, but it's not exactly the same. It's same in meaning and wording, but it's haqiqah, it's reality. True reality is not going to be understood and experienced until you enter into Jannah. It's a big difference, right? A much better difference. So from that is ginger, zanjabil. Everybody knows what ginger is, I think. You can put it in your drinks. It has a nice flavor. It's very healthy, etc. So the meanings, they're shared, but the haqiqah is not, the reality is not. It's not the same. So the hereafter, in Jannah you have a'nab, you have grapes, you have, in the dunya you have grapes, in the dunya you have pomegranate, in Jannah you have pomegranate, in Jannah you have date trees and dates, and in the dunya you have dates. وَلَكِنْ لَيْسَ فِي الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا نَمُوذَجْ مِمَّا فِي الْآخِرَةِ. But what's in the dunya is nothing more than an example or striking a similarity to what is in the hereafter. وَهُوَ يَخْتَلِفْ اخْتِلَافٍ كَبِيرًا. But it's very, very different. قال الله تعالى عَيْنًا فِيهَا تُسَمَّى سَلْسَبِيلًا. This is coming from a spring or a fountain called Salsabil. Salsabil. A spring that is refreshing. طيب المذاق. It has an excellent taste. يطوف عليهم ولدان مخلدون. There will be young youths who will go about around them. They're مخلدون يعني لا يموتون لا يهرمون لا يكبرون. They are youths that do not die. They don't get old. بل يستمرون على شبابهم وجمالهم ونظافتهم. They will remain young, youthful, handsome, and having that nice appearance and pure appearance. قال الله تعالى إذا رأيتهم. When you see them, meaning these youths, هؤلاء الغلمان, when you look at these young youths, حسبتهم لؤلؤا منثورا. You would perceive them, you would see them, and they would appear to be like lu'lu', pearls, which is a gemstone that is pure and very valuable, that comes from the ocean, as we all know, the pearl. And it is from the most beautiful types of jewelry in terms of its color and its look and so on and so forth. You would perceive them to be lu'lu' manthura, yani muntashira, scattered about. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ ثَمَّ رَأَيْتَ نَعِيمًا وَمُلْكًا كَبِيرًا. When you look there, هناك, ثم هناك, رأيت نعيما وملكا كبيرا. إذا رأيت الجنة على وجه العموم وأهلها وخدمها رؤية عامة رأيت نعيما يعني مناظرها ناعمة جميلة. When you look generally at paradise, a general glance, a general gaze upon things of Jannah, then you're going to see, you see its people, you see the servants, you look with a general look, you're going to see something that is absolutely beautiful. وَمُلْكٍ كَبِيرًا يعني, and a huge, massive dominion. يعني لَيْسَ لَهُ حُدُودٍ. It doesn't have any limits. Right? There's no limits to paradise. Here in this dunya, everything is, you have limitations, for instance. Here, you have a home. You're confined to certain limits and parameters. Your space, you can't exceed your limits in your space. You can only do what you can do within your confined limits. Your little yard that you have. You can't even build a fence unless you know the borders and limits to your yard, etc. Then in your city, when you go about and you travel, if you go anywhere else, if you want to travel anywhere else, you have to get permission, and you have to get, passport stamped, and you have to go through all of these things to get where you want to get. Paradise is this massive, massive, unlimited realm, unlimited dominion. It's massively huge. مُلْكًا كَبِيرًا. فَأَدْنَى أَهْلُ الْجَنَّةِ يُعْطَى أَمْثَالَ الدُّنْيَا وَمَا فِيهَا. The lowest of the people of paradise, meaning in terms of rank, they will have the likes of this dunya and everything in it. Everything. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you get somewhat of a visual of paradise. Of course, we don't know its reality. He mentions the type of clothing the believers had. What do we say about the believers? About rather this dunya? What do people want? And they have fashion shows all the time. They have the whole before the Oscars. What comes right before that? The red carpet. Allah musta'an. Everybody shows off what? Their clothes. All about fashion. They're obsessed with clothing. So don't think for a moment, don't belittle for a second these good things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning in the Quran. So you say to the disbeliever when they say things like this, because they'll try to belittle it. You tell them, you know you want these things. Don't lie to yourself. Because the disbeliever will come and say, well, when you say these things to them, they say, well, I already have that here. Some people make mockery, la'adu billah. This is kufr, by the way. Sukhriya. لِأَشْيَاء فِي الْجَنَّةِ مثلا. Making mockery of things in the... For example, we have a hadith that the person, he says, Subhanallah al-Azim. Oh, Subhanallah al-Azim wa bihamdi. When he makes this phrase, what happens? A nakhla fil jannah. A date tree is planted in Jannah for him. When he utters this expression, you might find somebody that will make mockery of that. What am I going to do with a nakhla? He's making it like it's nothing, like it's insignificant. Allahu musta'an. There are people that say things like this. It's khuriyya. Wal'adu billah, the kufr billah. It's not allowed to make mockery of the things of paradise, but you have people that would do that. Non-Muslims that will belittle, even though they don't realize they themselves are chasing after these very things. Subhanallah. قال الله تعالى عاليهم ثياب سندس خضر واستبرق. So you have two things of clothing that Allah Ta'ala mentions here. He mentions a sundus and istabrak. Sundus is, they will have, Allah Ta'ala said, they will have clothes, thiyab, garments, attire, that is sundus khudr. So you have sundus is ma raqqa bin al-harir. It is a fine, thinned out silk. And it will be green, the color of green. Then you have istibrak, and that is also silk, but it's a thicker, more coarse silk. So there's different types. You have a thin one, fine silk, and then another type of silk, a thicker type of silk. The colors of their clothes is going to be what color? نعم ولباسهم فيها حرير وهو أجود أنواع. This is the most pleasant and the most excellent type of apparel in this dunya. However, it's forbidden for the men in this dunya. And that's something that you notice, that there are certain things that are forbidden for us in the dunya, but allowable in Jannah. From that is silk, for men particularly. But also what comes next, the same thing. وَحُلُّ أَسَاوِرَ مِنْ فِضَّةٍ. They will also be adorned with bracelets. Now, jewelry is for women in particular in this world. The men are limited to the type of jewelry. They're not allowed to wear gold. A man can wear a ring, he can have a ring on his finger, but it can't be of gold. But the men should avoid also other types of jewelry that women are adorned with, which is like necklaces and bracelets and so on and so forth. As for paradise, that's different. They will be adorned with asawir min fidda, bracelets of silver. Yani their wrists will be laced with silver. وَلَيْسَتْ مِنَ الْحَدِيدِ أو غَيْرِ. It's not a type of iron or other types of elements, but it's going to be from the silver of Jannah. Not the type of silver of this dunya, the silver of Jannah. وَسَقَّاهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ شَرَابًا طَهُورًا. And look at this, Allah Ta'ala says, their Lord is going to give them to drink. This is an honor. سَقَّاهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ. For our Arabic learners, let's pick out the i'rab real quick here. What's the i'rab? أعربوا سقاهم ربهم سقاهم ربهم فعل مفعول به سقاهم ربهم. Who knows? The fi'l. Okay, سقاهم, the fi'l. Where's the verb? ربهم. سقاهم ربهم. Who knows? سقا. Okay? Okay, so that's the fi'l. We need the fa'il مفعول به. سقاهم ربهم. سقاهم ربهم. Whom is what?
The door.
It's not the fa'il. لا يمكن. مفعول به. سقاهم. That's because it's a ضمير متصل. It can't be the fa'il. سقاهم. He will give them to drink. ربهم. إذن رب is the فاعل. رب فاعل مرفوع. سقاهم ربهم شرابا. Their Lord will give them شرابا. مفعول به, but we already did the مفعول به. سقاهم, هم, مفعول به. So what's شراب? Can there be a second مفعول? نعم, يجوز. إذن سقاهم ربهم, سقى فعل, هم مفعول به أول. ربهم فاعل مرفوع, هم مضاف إليه, their Lord, the Lord of them. شرابا مفعول به ثان, the second مفعول. They will give them, that's مفعول, them, and their Lord will give them a drink. شرابا, okay, last one, طهورا. شرابا طهورا. صفة. أحسنت. صفة لماذا؟ شراب. جميل. بارك الله فيك. Okay, so here we're going to conclude. This is going to be we're close to the end here. Their Lord will give them a pure drink. This is for the bodies, for the stomachs, for the hearts. فَهَذَا الشَّرَابُ يُطَيِّبُ. This drink, it purifies and cleanses. Just as their outer appearance is pure, their outer appearance is made pure, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also is going to purify their inner selves, their insides. بِهَذَا الشَّرَابُ, with this drink, with this beverage. That purifies the hearts, purifies the chests, it purifies their insides from bodily defects, illnesses, abnormalities. أهل الجنة لا يبولون لا يتغوطون. The people of paradise, they will not urinate, they will not defecate. They don't have to use the bathroom, not number 1 or number 2. But they will perspire. They will sweat. Right? And the sweat comes in the ra'iha of, it's more pleasant than the smell of musk. You know, in this dunya, you see how everybody's happy when they see these drinks coming around? وِلْدَانُ مُخَلَّدُونَ. الحمد لله. نسأل الله الجنة. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة. There's a narration where the Prophet ﷺ said, if you ask Allah 3 times for Jannah, paradise will ask Allah for Jannah for you. And if you ask Allah to protect you from the fire 3 times, the fire will ask Allah to protect you from the fire. So ask Allah frequently for protection from the fire and for Jannah. Jazakallah khairah. Okay, so here, this is where we will conclude. Jazakumullah khair. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says afterwards, إِنَّ هَذَا كَانَ لَكُمْ جَزَاءً. This is a reward and recompense for you. وَكَانَ سَعْيُكُمْ مَشْكُورًا. And your endeavor, it is mashkur, it is accepted, it is appreciated. This is where we'll conclude, and we'll start back from that verse, inshallah, and we'll go from there. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with His perfect names and lofty attributes, to grant us His paradise. It is promised for the believers. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. الله يبارك فيكم.